Have you ever protected a celebrity's privacy without them knowing? My daughter collapsed at school when she was 8. By the time I got to the emergency room, the doctor said she needed immediate surgery for a brain tumor we didn't even know existed. The procedure cost $25,000 up front, and our insurance had been canceled the week before because I couldn't afford the payments. What made it even worse was that my husband had died from the exact same type of tumor 3 years earlier because we couldn't afford his treatment either. The doctor said it was genetic, and I'd been living in terror that it would happen to my little girl too. Now my worst nightmare was coming true. I'd already sold everything we owned and moved into a studio apartment. I was working as a janitor at a fancy hotel while trying to care for my daughter, whose headaches were getting worse every day. She'd started having seizures, and I could see the same fear in her eyes that I'd seen in her father's. Last week, her neurologist called me in for an emergency appointment. The tumor was growing faster than they expected. If she doesn't get this surgery within 48 hours, the damage could be irreversible, he said. We were still $18,000 short despite borrowing from everyone I knew. My husband's wealthy parents had cut us off after he died because they blamed me for not getting him better medical care. My own parents had disowned me years ago when I dropped out of college to take care of him. I was completely alone with no one left to turn to. That night, the hotel was hosting some big movie premiere after party, and I needed to clean up before morning. I was emptying trash cans in the penthouse suite, crying because I knew I was about to lose my daughter the same way I'd lost her father. That's when this guy walked out of the bathroom. He was tall, had a beard, and was wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans. Even though he looked exhausted and was clearly trying to avoid the party downstairs, I immediately recognized him as Keanu Reeves. This was right after John Wick, and he was everywhere in the media. He seemed surprised to see me and apologized for being in the way. I just nodded and kept working, trying not to stare. But then my phone rang, and it was the hospital calling with an update. I stepped into the hallway to take it. When the doctor told me they needed to operate within the next 48 hours or risk permanent brain damage, I completely broke down. I couldn't hold it together anymore. When I hung up, Keanu was standing there. He'd obviously heard me crying loud, and instead of walking away, he asked, "What's going on?" I don't know why, but something about his voice made me tell him everything. About my daughter, the tumor, my husband dying from the same thing, the money I didn't have. I felt pathetic explaining my problems to a movie star, but he just listened. Then he did something I'll never forget. He pulled out his phone, made a quick call, and said, "I'm taking care of it." What hospital? When I told him, he gave someone the hospital's information and said to pay for whatever my daughter needed. I literally fell to my knees thanking him, but he just helped me up and said, "I lost my family and couldn't save them, but maybe I can help you save yours." He handed me some cash and told me to go and stay with your daughter. I raced to the hospital and got there just as they were prepping my daughter for surgery. I was able to hold her hand and tell her everything would be okay before they took her in. As they were wheeling her in, a nurse handed me an envelope. Inside was a note that simply read, "A small gift from KR." It was some cash. 6 months later, my daughter is running around like any normal kid. I never told anyone who helped us. Some things are meant to stay private.